Even if you're a beginner, you can crochet a bunch of these mini textured pumpkins in no time using very little yarn, and today I'm going to show you how. Welcome to my channel. I'm Leisha from With Love Leisha. I teach quick, beginner-friendly crochet projects, and you're going to want to find your way back here, so hit that subscribe button and let's get started. To crochet these mini pumpkins, you need some yarn, and I've used a medium weight level 4 yarn. This is Impeccable in Loops and Threads. I've also used Caron Simply Soft and a much chunkier weight, so anything works really. I'll link how much you need of the Impeccable in the description box. You need a crochet hook, and the appropriate size for the yarn you're using will be on the back of the package. You need some scissors, a yarn needle, darning needle, tapestry needle, any of those is fine. Something to stuff the pumpkin with. I'm using fiberfill or polyfill, and a hot glue gun to glue on your stem if you choose to do so, and something for your stem. I have cinnamon sticks here. You can also use small branches, twigs, stems, really anything, get creative with it. And that's about it, so let's jump in. To start, I'm going to make a foundation chain, and this is going to be the circumference of your pumpkin, so how wide it is around. So I'm going to make a slip knot, lay my yarn over my hook, bring the tail over the longer piece of yarn over and pull through that loop, and I'm going to pull the tail to tighten. Now I'm going to chain about 20 chains, and the number of chains doesn't actually matter. If you're using a thicker yarn, you might do less chains. If you're using a thinner yarn, you might do more chains. So that's 4 chains so far, and to chain I'm just yarning over, pulling through the loop. And now I'm going to make a ring. So I'm going to bring this working yarn towards me so that the chain sits behind it, just like this. And I'm going to turn my chain so that this bumpy side is facing up. So it has a smooth side and a bumpy side. With the bumpy side facing up, I'm going to bring my last chain, which is by the knot, up to my hook, and I'm just going to push the hook through it. So I just have one loop of that chain on my hook. And I'm making sure that it's not twisted. Now I'm going to connect my first and last chain with a slip stitch. So I'm just yarning over, and I'm going to pull that right through both loops. And now I'm going to chain 1. I'm ready to start placing my herringbone half double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go into this chain right here. So this is where my knot is, and it's the chain that has that knot next to it. I'm going into that. I'm going to yarn over, insert, and pull up a loop. I'm going to pull that loop straight through the next loop on my hook, yarn over, and pull through both loops. So I have the bumpy side facing in, the smooth side is facing out, and I'm inserting my hook into the chains from the smooth side. So once again, I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go into the next one. So I've worked into this. This is my next chain. I'm going to go into that. I like to just get the top loop of the chain on my hook. Some people like to insert it and get both loops. However you want to do it is fine, whatever works for you. And I'm going to pull up a loop, pull that loop through the first loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. And I'm just going to continue doing that same thing all the way down. And you want to make sure when you are inserting into the ring that you don't twist or turn the ring as you work into it. This is my last stitch. So I'm just going in there, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through the first loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Now you want to make sure that you do count your stitches at this point. So let's go ahead and do that. This is my first stitch. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I'm good. That's another way that you'll know if you are going into the correct chain or not. Make sure you're not going into this one and adding an extra stitch. So now that I have my 20 stitches, I'm going to insert my hook into that first stitch. So that's my first herringbone half double crochet, and I'm just pulling up and I'm pulling through the loop on my hook. That's a slip stitch. I'm going to tighten that so it doesn't look like an actual stitch to me as I'm working my next round. And I'm going to yarn over and chain 1. And you want to make sure before you go on that you haven't twisted your chain and your row is nice and clean and straight. We're pretty much going to do the same thing we did for round 1. We're going to place 1 herringbone half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So I'm going to yarn over. I have my chain 1 here, and I'm going to insert my hook right underneath that chain 1, so right there. And I'm going to make sure that I get that V over my hook, and I have both strands of it. So the tops of your stitches look like these. You can see these. I'm going to pull up a loop, pull that loop through the next loop on my hook, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Yarn over, insert, get that V, pull up a loop, pull it through the next loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. So you're just going to continue doing that all the way around. So I'm here at my last stitch, and I'm going to place my last herringbone half double crochet into that stitch. It's right next to my chain 1 and my first stitch. And you want to make sure you have the correct number of stitches. So I chained 20 and I have 20 stitches in every round. And now I'm ready to slip stitch into my first herringbone half double crochet to close my round. And go ahead and chain 1. Continue placing rounds in the way that we just did. You want your work to be a little bit taller than you want your pumpkin because we're going to scrunch the pumpkin down. Meet me back here when you are done with your last round, and I will show you how to start putting the pumpkin together. I am at my very last stitch of my last round, so I'm going to place a herringbone half double crochet in there, and I'm going to place a slip stitch in my first herringbone half double crochet of this round. Now I'm ready to make a knot and cut a long tail to put this pumpkin together. So I'm going to chain 1, pull up on it, and pull on my back strand to tighten the knot down here. And I have a weird way of measuring out how much of a tail I need. So I know that I need to close up these 2 sides. So what I'm going to do is wrap my tail loosely around my pumpkin twice this way. And I know that I need to wrap it around 4 times this way to make my 4 sections, plus a couple more times. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, just to be sure. And I don't wrap very tight, I wrap kind of loose so that I'm positive that I'll have enough. I'd rather have extra than not have enough. So I'm just going to cut. Now I'm going to pull on the loop to free my tail. Now I'm ready to start closing the top and bottom of my pumpkin. So where we have knotted off is actually our bottom. We're gonna start from there. So grab your darning needle or tapestry needle, and we're going to thread the needle. So I like to do that by laying the tail of the yarn over the eye edge of the needle, pulling down on it really snug and dragging it to the edge, and then pushing that through the eye. It helps me not struggle with having to thread it. Now I'm going to weave the tail around the edge and in between the stitches. So I'm inserting the needle underneath the 2 strands of that V. And I'm going to pull, and I'm going to continue doing the same thing. So I'm inserting under the 2 strands of the next V. When I'm pulling, I'm not pulling it too tight. After every few stitches, I'm going to pull on the tail and push down on the stitches to cinch the opening. I like to do it every few stitches and not all the way at the end, because I find that the yarn sticks sometimes and then I end up with knots in a situation where I have to open everything. I have made it back around. I'm coming through my last stitch. And I'm going to cinch it shut. And since this is our bottom, we do want it to close all the way. So try to get it closed as tight as possible. At this point, I want to close that hole because we're going to be stuffing this, and this is the bottom. So we don't want any holes. So to close the hole, first I'm going to make a knot so that our cinched part holds. So I'm just going through a couple strands of yarn. And to close it, all I'm going to do is I'm going to push my needle in and come out the other end. I'm going to do the same thing coming back over the other side. Now I'm going to push my needle into the center, and I'm going to bring it out through the top. Go ahead and grab your stuffing, whatever you want to use to stuff your pumpkin. I'm using polyfill, also called fiber fill. So I'm just going to push it into the center of this tube. And I want to leave a little space at the top because we still need to close off the top. So at this point, I'm going to start weaving my yarn around the top of the pumpkin, because once we finish adding the stuffing, it's going to get caught in our needle as we try to do that. So it's easier to do it at this point. Pull your tail up all the way. I've made it a little more than halfway around. This is where I started. I have about this much left. I'm going to finish stuffing it at this point. And I've also made sure that I can cinch it shut and all the yarn is tangle free. And now finish weaving your yarn around. Make sure that you don't close this hole all the way and you only close it enough that you have room for this stem. So I actually haven't glued this on yet. I'm going to place this in there. So I'm going to leave about that much of a space. Now at this point, we're going to scrunch our pumpkin and make the sections. So you can go ahead and knot so that your cinching holds. Now take your needle and push it through the center of the pumpkin and come out the bottom. So you're going through all the stuffing and you're coming out through the bottom center. This will help indent the top a little bit to give it this nice indented look. Now push down to scrunch it as I do this. Now to make it easier to hold it in place, I'm going to knot it. And now we're going to wrap around the outside to create the sections. So I'm just coming up and over the top, and I'm going back through the bottom. So I'm going inside just the way we did before, and I'm coming out of the bottom center. And the key to keeping this yarn hidden and having everything look nice and neat is to really give it a pull so it gets hidden into the grooves that you're making. I like to place a knot again at this point because it's just easier to hold it and continue placing more sections. Repeat that 3 more times. So I'm going back up, around, coming down through the center. So if you are sectioning off your pumpkin and you feel that it's not stuffed enough, you can still add more stuffing at this point. And I've actually done this a couple times because I felt that I wanted a more plump pumpkin. So just grab some stuffing a little bit at a time. You can stick it in there and either using your finger or a crochet hook, a small crochet hook, you can wiggle it into the areas that you feel need more stuffing. So as you can see, that added a little bit more plumpness to my pumpkin. I have all my 4 sections and I have placed my last knot at the bottom of my pumpkin. Now we're ready to hide our tail and cut off any excess yarn. So to do that, I'm going back down to the bottom of my pumpkin and I'm just going to come out through the side. I'm going to give the yarn a little bit of a tug and I'm going to snip any excess yarn and the yarn gets hidden in there. You do want to make sure that you give yourself a good couple tight knots before you decide to cut and hide your tail. If you want to glue on your stem, you are ready to do that. So I have a cinnamon stick here. I have my hot glue gun. You're going to heat this up and place a little dab in the center of the hole. And then you're going to place a little bit on your stem, the tip. And then you're going to place the stem into the center of the hole and let it dry. I don't like to glue on my stems because I like to switch them out. So I've used twigs, I've used small pieces of branches, I've used cinnamon sticks bound together, a lot of different ideas, and they all give you a different look. Enjoy your crocheted pumpkins, enjoy decorating your space with them. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. Tap that like button before you head out, and as always, thanks so much for watching and keep crocheting with love and patience. Until next time.